Hello and welcome to UFC's Inside The Octagon. I'm John Gooden with my good friend and top UFC analyst, Dan Hardy. We're really excited to bring you today's Inside The Octagon as we redirect the spotlight from UFC 204's superstars as Dan and I take a look at 6 Brits who are hoping to make an impact on home soil as the UK entertains a huge pay-per-view event in Manchester on October the 8th with quality matchups all the way through the card. So Dan, let's get into it then and let's have a look at some of the Brit pack that we have that are going to be fighting in Manchester. Let's start with Danny Roberts. Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts, there's some needle already. Perry has gone out there and said he's going to kill him.
Yeah, of course.
So Danny Roberts, who's actually quite a calm, affable, quite happy guy, has turned a little bit. So what do we know of Danny Roberts, former pro boxer who trains with the Blackzilians camp? I was actually speaking with Henry Hooft in Brasilia on the weekend. Said when he came down, he was having a few problems, as you would in that gym of absolute monsters. But now he's integral to the development and sparring circle of all of the top guys. So I'm really excited to see the new version of Danny Roberts.
Yeah, me too. You know, he's shown to be very dynamic in the UFC so far. As you can see, he's unbeaten. Also a former pro boxer. I think his record was 32-7, so he's got a lot of experience. Yeah, a lot of experience. Not just played at it. I mean, he really invested some time. He's also got a height and reach advantage in here and the experience. But one thing we've got to say about Mike Perry, obviously, is he's unbeaten at 8-0 and he has stopped everybody. But then again, he does have God gift tattooed on his stomach, so you've got to be pretty confident to have that tattoo. So let's have a quick look at Danny Roberts. Now, this was a great fight, in my opinion. Nate Coy is a veteran of the game. He was a contestant on The Ultimate Fighter. A very just tough, durable guy. I mean, Brian Stan always has a lot of good things to say about him, and Danny Roberts just lit him up on the feet when he was taken down. He slapped on a triangle, and that was game, set, and match. It was a beautiful performance. I think this is a really exciting fight, you know. And as we're working up the card, this is, you know, right down on the prelims, and I think that this needs more attention because it's going to be a real fun fight between two guys that are going to rise through the welterweight ranks very quickly, as are the next two guys. Yes,
one last thing on Danny Roberts. So anyone that watches Cage Warriors, Paddy Pimblett and Chris Fishgold, who we'll know to be submission artists out of Next Generation in Liverpool, that's where he earned his stripes.
Right.
So don't underestimate this guy's ground game.
Very cool.
Let's talk about my friend Leon Rocky Edwards.
Yeah.
So training out of Birmingham, the UTC guys. We were talking just before the camera went to red. This guy's striking is super slick.
Very slick, very calm, very relaxed. Love watching him fight. He always looks like a little bit like Gegard Mousasi. Kind of looks like he's taking it too easy, and then bam, he catches you with something clean. The first one that stands out to me is Pavel Pavlik. This head kick came out of nowhere, and you can see he's so relaxed. That 0 to 60, that fast twitch muscle fibre, bam, straight up with the head kick, knocked him down, and was just a beautiful performance. He's very concise, very disciplined in his striking, as you can see with that knockout over Seth Brzezinski. He fires the left hand, it comes straight back to his chin as well, and then he's straight back to being relaxed again. So another fun fight.
Yeah, OK, moving on. Davey Grant, so he was an Ultimate Fighter 18 finalist, had a little bit of trouble with injury, has gone to the SBG Manchester camp, and his life has changed. I mean, he's really refined his skills and is looking great. Made a great comeback recently. Looking forward to seeing him come out against Damien Stasiak.
Well, a tough fight, in my opinion. Damien Stasiak has showed to have a very good ground game, but Davey Grant moving to the SBG Manchester team is really interesting because he has the one thing that you can't teach, and that's heart. You know, there's no doubt about that. You can watch his previous fights. He just gives everything he's got all the time. He fights for his family. He fights for his kids to be able to say, my dad was in the Ultimate Fighting Championships. He fell slightly short against Chris Holdsworth in the tough finale, but obviously he's coming back strong. And Cole Tanswell at SBG Manchester will take a prospect like him and just develop him. And what's also nice is how closely matched they are. Yeah. Virtually identical. 1 inch difference in reach, but that's not really going to make it too much of a difference in this fight. I expect this to be a very fast-paced match, a lot of scrambling exchanges, a lot of aggressive striking. But in my opinion, I do feel like Davey Grant is the slightly more aggressive fighter, will probably have a slight advantage on the feet. Against Marlon Vera, he just really shut him down everywhere, just kept the pressure on all the way through the fight, and never shows a weakness in his game, never shows an ability to take a back step necessarily. He's confident wherever the fight goes as well. So no matter what happens in this fight, he's going to be prepared for whatever. And Damien Stasiak is definitely going to test his ground game. I mean, he had a beautiful rear naked choker. I believe it was his last fight, maybe the one before that. But again, another very well-rounded fighter.
Yeah, and with that layoff out the way, I think he'll be a little bit more fresh coming into this one.
Yeah.
So moving on to Ian Entwistle. Trains out of Pickett top team, known for, yes, his submissions, but for wrecking people's legs.
Yes, yeah. And this is something we've seen. He's been a little bit of a victim of his reputation as a submission specialist in the UFC so far. The submission when he did get the heel hook, I mean, he constantly chases the heel hook. The submission when let's take a quick look at it. The submission when he did get was very impressive, but there has been times when he's been so persistent with the submission that he's left himself exposed to shots from above and he's been TKO'd. As we know, unless you're a real specialist with footlocks, it is a risky technique to use. And he is fighting Rob Font, and it's worth noting, Rob Font, everybody's very hot on Rob Font.
Yes.
People expect a lot of good things to come from him, so I think that Enty's got a real tough fight in that one.
OK. Brad Pickett.
Who needs to introduce One Punch?
Just one of the most exciting performers to ever come out of the UK. Always excited to watch him fight, but, I mean, he's giving up experience to Yuri Alcantara.
Yeah.
This is a great fight.
This is an awesome fight with two guys that have got a real wealth of experience, not only in the UFC but WEC as well.
Yeah.
That they've both been climbing up through the rankings. They've both had up and down careers. Some things have not necessarily gone their way, but they always show up. They always bring everything they've got. Alcantara, obviously a jiu-jitsu black belt from a small island at the mouth of the Amazon.
That's right, yeah.
Fights in the UFC with his brother Ildemar. So he's always got a training partner, which is useful. Brad Pickett just had a little baby, and he seems to be really driven by that. And go and check out his Instagram. Him pantsing people at American Top Team is absolutely hilarious. I've watched it 10 times already. It's brilliant. But look at the experience between these two guys. Bonus winner, just a really exciting, dynamic and aggressive fighter. The fight I've picked out is in my hometown, in Nottingham, and this was just one of the best knockouts ever. Look at that.
Yeah.
He fakes and just comes up with a beautiful uppercut, cracks his way underneath the chin, and then does his little dance at the end. I just,
Gangnam Style.
Yeah,
nice.
Brad Pickett is one of my favourites, one fan favourite, and there's a good reason why they call him One Punch. But we've also got to remember he's got, I think, 10 submissions on his record as well, so he's dangerous everywhere.
Yeah.
Ever since he went to American Top Team, his wrestling's looked excellent.
One of the best British wrestlers, if you like, in mixed martial arts.
Most definitely, and has a great relationship with Mike Brown, who has gone from being a veteran of the game to being a great coach.
Yeah, and his best man at his wedding.
There we go.
Over to your side, Arnold Allen. Now, this is an amazing matchup.
Yeah.
I kind of feel bad that it's happening at this stage of their career, but at the same time, it's a massive opportunity for Arnold Allen fighting this American top team prospect who is just ridiculous. I think he is one of the guys that everyone should be looking out for. But take nothing away from Arnold Allen, one of the youngest fighters on the card, spends a greater proportion of his camps now at TriStar, and he too has been working on wrestling. That's been a key for him. He's an excellent boxer. I spent some time sparring and training with some of the top-level professional boxers in the Essex and Suffolk region. Does very well indeed. But yes, the wrestling is where he's been focused, and obviously having the heads at TriStar behind him now. TriStar versus American Top Team.
Yeah, beautiful. Massive gyms clashing against each other. Mirsad Bektek's got a really interesting life story, moving from Bosnia to Italy to, I think, Germany before relocating to America. Obviously a very, very talented fighter, 10-0. He's very well balanced, he's very powerful, very explosive, and constantly aggressive. Now, one thing that we've seen from Arnold Allen is his durability is unbelievable. He shows heart over everything else. He's a great athlete. Again, very similarly matched. Arnold Allen has two more fights over Bektek, so there's slightly more experience there. But settled at TriStar, looks very comfortable there. He's good friends with Joe Calderwood, who's also settled there. And there's a real UK contingent that have settled at TriStar. It's really nice to see these young fighters moving over to a big gym like that and getting the expertise of guys like, obviously, Faraz Zahabi and John Danaher when he passes through. Phil Nurse passes through from time to time, as well as the great George St. Pierre and all the other fighters they've got on the mat. I mean, I've been up there sparring, and it is a shark tank. It really is. They bring all the best fighters from around the region together. So to have him on the mat really gives him a good perspective of not only his martial arts development, but the development of martial arts as a sport, and to be able to see where he fits in that. Now, Bektek is everybody speaks so highly of him. Obviously, Conan Silveira has a lot of wonderful things to say about him. He's a very dangerous fighter. And this is, like you said, it's unfortunate that it's happening at this stage in their career because it would be nice to build them both a little more. But one of these guys is going to do really well off this. The other one's going to learn a great lesson from it. So whatever happens, happens. But let's have a look at Arnold Allen. The babyface, I mean, he doesn't even look old enough to be fighting the UFC. Against Arnold, Alan Omer, we had all kinds of problems with this one.
Speak for yourself.
I had all kinds of problems with this one. He locked up this beautiful adapted guillotine, basically, and squeezed the life out of Alan Omer, and was just not able to escape that. Now, that's going to be useful in this fight because Bektek is surely going to smash him up against the fence and try and take him down. Although Bektek's got great hands, he's got very fast hands, powerful boxing, he often uses it to find his way into the clinch and try and get that takedown. So Arnold Allen's heart, his durability and his ability to catch those off-the-chance submissions is going to pay dividends in this fight.
His brother and dad are both sort of strong men.
Of course
Arnold
they are,
Allen's,
which is why he's in such good shape.
Yeah,
it shows, right?
Always in good shape. Great stuff. Can't wait for this. And what an opportunity for these British guys to really express themselves on a pay-per-view card.
Yes, and one more that we need to mention, making his debut, Mark DeCasey. He's just been signed, a very, very exciting fighter.
Yeah, one of Scotty Askren's teammates. Really looking forward to seeing what he brings to the Octagon as well.
Loads of UK talent. It's great to see. I'm really looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the analysis from us today for UFC 204. But remember, there are some serious events for fight fans coming up. Manila plays host to the return of the UFC legend, BJ Penn, as he starts his comeback against tough as teak featherweight Ricardo Lamas. November 5th sees a ferocious lightweight fight between former champion Rafael dos Anjos and Tony Ferguson, who is on a phenomenal 8-fight win streak. And then, on November 12th, the biggest card in the history of the promotion with UFC 205 at Madison Square Garden, New York City, headlined by the lightweight title fight between Eddie Alvarez and Conor McGregor. Dan,
wow,
the dream is over. It is a reality.
Yeah.
UFC and NYC.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, you know, and there are so many good fights on the card, obviously. All the title fights. Cowboy staying at welterweight. I'm always excited to see him. Chris Weidman fighting in front of his New York crowd. In a city that is campaigned so hard to get MMA legitimised, taking on the always scary Yoel Romero. What a card. It's going to be amazing. So many top fighters are making an appearance there at Madison Square Garden. Feels great to say that, Madison Square Garden. That's all from us. Make sure to check out all the other shows in the build-up to UFC 204. We will be back with a whole host of new content previewing all of the big fights in the run-up to UFC 205. So keep your eyes peeled for those. Well, the wait for the most anticipated rematch in the middleweight division is almost upon us. Will Michael Bisping get revenge over Dan Henderson? Or will the nailed-on Hall of Famer go out at the very summit of the sport?
Bisping caught him with a